In the International Skills Festival for All, young people worldwide competed in manufacturing skills. In the 39th festival, 4 competitors from the Hitachi Group were chosen as the best in the world. At this festival, Hitachi Group participants made great achievements, and most of them were graduates of Hitachi Technical School. The Hitachi Technical School has a long history, and its forerunners date back to when the Hitachi Apprentice School was established to train skilled workers in 1910, the same year as the foundation of Hitachi Limited. At that time, the Japanese electrical industry relied on overseas technology and human resources. Hitachi, a latecomer to the sector, decided to develop its own technology. And based on the concept of business development depends on human resources, Hitachi rapidly introduced technical training ahead of the rest of the industry. Hitachi has evolved by creating useful things with its own original technology. A history of nurturing human resources. (1910). Hitachi Limited was founded when the new factory was built. 2 years later, in 1912, it separated from Hitachi Mining and became independent. Namihei Odaira was appointed as leader, the de facto president, and the company focused exclusively on the manufacture of electrical machinery. Gradually, it became able to accept orders from companies other than Hitachi Mining. At that time, the company had 33 senior employees, including Odaira, and 360 workers. To get manufacturing into full-scale operation, Odaira made major changes in the organization of Hitachi Limited. Kumeo Baba, later to become the first head of the Central Research Laboratory, headed the design department, and Naosaburo Takao, later the head of the Hitachi factory, ran the manufacturing department. Although it was a time when procuring good human resources was difficult, many new university graduates joined the company. At the time of the company's founding, the new factory mainly made transformers and electric motors. Almost all of these products were supplied to Hitachi Mining. Under the policy of researching, manufacturing, and testing everything themselves, the manufacture of electrical machinery using original technology made rapid progress. 2 years later, in 1912, the Meiji Emperor passed away, and Japan moved on from the Meiji to the Taisho era. The mood in the nation became less dynamic, and as if reflecting this, inflation reared up in the Japanese economy, and the nation was plunged into a major economic depression. Immediately after its foundation, Hitachi Limited had few customers and orders declined rapidly. In addition, there were numerous cases of the products they supplied malfunctioning or causing accidents. Every time this happened, Odaira himself went to apologize. In those days, Odaira always kept a letter of resignation on his desk. Hard times continued. However, amid these difficulties, the roots of Hitachi's own technology were developing steadily. In 1914, 6 years after its establishment, the First World War broke out. In the confusion of war, machinery ordered from overseas often failed to arrive. The Tone Power Station in Gunma Prefecture. At that time, the construction of new power generation facilities was underway. However, it proved difficult to import power generation water turbines, and it became necessary to order them from a domestic manufacturer. An order had been placed overseas for a 10,000 horsepower water turbine, which was a very large unit in those days, that was not delivered. No Japanese manufacturer had ever made such a water turbine. Hitachi boldly rose to the challenge of the difficult task of making this turbine. Initially, many people at Hitachi were worried about the task of manufacturing this large product. In reality, Hitachi had a major lack of experience and know-how. Eventually, the entire workforce united in their efforts to obtain the order. They deliberately chose the difficult path of researching, manufacturing, and testing everything themselves. This was the motivation that powered their burning desire to develop original technology with their own hands and minds. However, it was not so easy to win the order. Naturally, the Tone Power Station hesitated to place the order with Hitachi, a company that had just been established. Nevertheless, after repeated negotiations, Tone Power Station came to recognize the technological prowess of Hitachi Limited and placed an order with Hitachi for one of the 3 water turbines. At that time, this decision was seen as a reckless gamble by the sector, and many doubted that the project would be successful. The order was placed, and Hitachi immediately commenced the design work. However, this entailed the design of a very large water turbine, which had never been previously undertaken in Japan. It was a process of trial and error, using overseas data and products as reference examples. After many difficulties, the plans were finally completed, and manufacturing commenced immediately. It was the first such design and the first such manufacturing challenge for Hitachi. Moreover, the Hitachi factory was a wooden structure and the equipment was incomplete. There were many times that work did not proceed as planned. However, when such problems arose, they overcame them with the united efforts of the entire workforce. In areas where they lacked experience, they relied on originality and ingenuity. In 1915, the water turbine was finally completed. In the final tests, it performed better than anticipated. The Tone Power Station was able to start its power supply. Thanks to this excellent result, the remaining 2 water turbines were also ordered from Hitachi. An industrial sector magazine at the time praised this achievement, saying, "It is in no way inferior to the best imported water turbines. This is a great honor for Hitachi Limited, and also a very welcome event and a matter of pride for the entire Japanese machinery manufacturing industry." This achievement was attained just 6 years after the founding of Hitachi. Although this did not mean that everything was going well for Hitachi, it showed that the results of enhancing its technological capabilities were beginning to bear fruit. To further improve its technology, in 1917, Hitachi established a research department and new testing and research sections were set up. This research section subsequently formed the foundation of Hitachi's research and development activities, including its central research laboratory. Also in 1917, publication commenced of the Hitachi Hyoron Technical Magazine, in which technicians posted their research results. This magazine is still published today. Hitachi was the first electrical manufacturer in Japan to publish such a magazine, and it symbolizes Hitachi's stance of placing high value on technology. At this time, Hitachi began to expand its production capacity and commenced the construction of a copper wire plant, which was a new undertaking that might well affect the future of the company. Chikata Kurata, a young technician with no specialized knowledge, was put in charge of this copper wire plant, and he exerted considerable efforts. In later years, he succeeded Namihei Odaira to become the second president of Hitachi Limited. He had neither experience nor knowledge. However, Kurata researched and manufactured everything himself, and so overcame many difficulties. In 1917, the copper wire plant was completed, and with that, Hitachi Limited was able to both manufacture products and make its own materials in-house. That year, Hitachi Limited merged with Tsukudajima Manufacturing, a company that made machinery for Hitachi Mine, which was within the Kuahara Mining Group, the parent organization of Hitachi Mining. With this move, Hitachi commenced full-scale manufacturing of general machinery, including pumps and cranes. Hitachi Limited established a head office in Tokyo to boost its sales capabilities, and Odaira also moved his headquarters to Tokyo. With this, he was able to command the entire spectrum of management. In this way, by thinking and continuously making things itself, Hitachi was able to progress steadily to establish its own original technology. Just around that time, a fire broke out at the Hitachi plant. Despite valiant efforts to extinguish the fire, the plant was almost entirely burned to the ground. Fortunately, nobody was injured or died due to this fire. However, the employees could not conceal their disappointment. The extent of the damage was clearly evident. Some people even said that Hitachi itself might not survive this fire. On hearing the news of the fire, Odaira hurriedly left Tokyo and went to the scene of the disaster. He stood before the employees and said, "The unimaginable scale of this fire has left me bewildered. Initially, I felt that we might have to stop manufacturing operations. Despite this, I am very confident of our capabilities in the area of manufacturing. However, in the face of this, we must exert renewed efforts. We must aspire to even greater growth." The employees were roused by the words of Odaira, and they went to work to restore the plant as quickly as possible. They recommenced manufacturing operations in a temporary makeshift building, and they started to build a new factory. Part of the 10,000 horsepower water turbine employed at the Tone Power Station that so amazed Japan's engineering sector has been preserved in one corner of the Hitachi Limited grounds. This component still proclaims the high ambitions of those early Hitachi pioneers and their tireless pursuit of original technology. A century later, the spirit of these pioneers is still alive in the hearts and minds of these young people. In 1920, the era of long-distance power transmission lines commenced, and the demand for electric power increased rapidly, signaling the emergence of a new age in Japan's electrical industry. And driven forward by its unyielding spirit and its ability to create original technology, in that year Hitachi Limited overcame numerous adversities and became an independent joint stock company. That was just 10 years after its founding.